Welcome back to another edition of Diary of a Tax Practice Owner. I'm so excited to have our guest here today because we're going to be talking about big strategy things, big ideas like acquisitions and exit strategies. And this is definitely something you don't want to miss. I'm excited because we have Fred Stein, and Fred is the tax director at BQ Tax and Accounting Ltd., where he has been helping small and medium-sized businesses grow and thrive for over 30 years. He's an expert in accounting, tax, and keeping cash flows flowing smoothly. Fred earned his accounting degree from San Oswego, aced the CPA exam, and earned his EA designation in 2019. In 2007, he founded BQ Tax Accounting, where under his leadership, it has grown into a multi-state powerhouse with over 25 remote pros, making magic happen across the country. Fred, I'm so excited to have you here today, and I would love if you would start sharing with us about your journey. How did you get into growing this large business in a multi-state model and having so many tax professionals working underneath you?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And it's actually, I kind of found my way back into accounting. I started off working for a CPA firm when I graduated. Didn't like it. I left, went to working for a private nonprofit organization. Loved it. They don't really pay a lot of money. So I started my little side hustle. A few clients came. Next thing you know, I had to make my choice. I chose to come back into tax. I thought I was out. They dragged me back in. That was back in 95, 92, 95 when I went out on my own and just did it slowly because I had young kids. And to me, I could always make money, and I made enough money to live happily. And I didn't work as much back then. Just spent a lot more time with my children. Kids grow up, they leave home and they say, "Go away, Dad." And so, that's when I bought my tax practice back in 2007. It was originally called Beckley and Carini, and we shortened it to BQ. And the BQ, everybody asks what it's for. It's still a tribute to the original founders that I bought out. A couple of years, my now partner, she had worked for me in my restaurant that I also bought at the same time, which was an idea. She moved
at the same time. That is kind of crazy, Fred.
in a restaurant. Yes. It was enjoyable, but it was a lot of stress. I lost quite a bit of money in that one and closed it down within a year. Tiani, my now partner, she came with me and started at the front desk, and she's become invaluable to me, and she handles all the admin side of everything. So she became my partner a number of years ago, and my kids grew up and moved on. So I spending less time with them. So we decided to empire and wound up moving out here to California. And so we bought a practice out here at first, just because we needed more revenue to support both states. Next thing you know, I'm talking to actually 3 different people about acquiring them. I've got a deal going right now that's waiting for the lawyers to work on it. I just spoke to another one earlier today. So this will be, I think, probably our 10th acquisitions if we go through with both of them.
So what's driving you, Fred, in the acquisition space? Is it, just raiding the world, or is it more is there something personally that's driving you to want to acquire these other organizations?
A couple of reasons, and it's not a pinky in the brain thing. We're not taking over the world today, and so we never know. It could be.
Right.
Originally, we fell into the first acquisition out here. I was at a meeting and somebody said they were selling, and I got into that, and we realized that we had a small office. It was me, Tiani, and we had three to four other people that were working with us part time and on different things, and we took pride in the fact that we were helping others put food on their table. So as we started growing, we didn't necessarily grow with the intent for us making more money, although we do and we did. But we were happy to be able to act as a way to train new tax people properly. And because we've all seen some of the garbage that gets thrown out there, and we want to make sure that we train it. And we allow people, other practitioners who are going out on their own or wanted to go out on their own, they didn't have enough work to go out on their own. And we created a space for them so they can grow their business, come work for us part-time when and how they want. And they're helping put food on my plate. I'm helping put food on their plate. And many of them, after a couple of years, they don't need to work for me anymore because their path has grown and they can work on their own.
Wow.
Part of it is my retirement, because when I was young, I did play a lot. So I wasn't as responsible as many other people. So I didn't throw a lot into my retirement. Like my wife is the opposite. She's got her 401k and she's all set. But the main reason my growth was to grow it to a certain level because my business is now my retirement.
Was there a point where you made that shift over to seeing your business as an asset that you could then sell in the future? Or was it just kind of like it naturally evolved to that? I'm curious because there's got to be a point where you wake up and you're like, oh shit,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
I don't have the 401k. I don't have the safety net to
You
catch me after I'm done. And I don't want to work until I'm 85.
exactly, and that hit me probably about 15 years ago or so, and buddy, we got some, but I don't have a lot, and the bulk of it is in other assets, and we're expecting to go over 2 million in revenue this year,
Wow.
and my goal is, we had an original goal of like getting it to 10 million and then selling, but I'm not sure I want to be that large just yet. So we're okay where we are now. Maybe, revenue is another million or two would be nice. And we're also doing the same stuff you're doing, building our tech stack so that
Mm,
my partner and I don't need to be involved in the day to day. This
yeah.
past year, I pulled out almost entirely out of the personal side of the tax prep part. I'm
Mm,
still working with the bookkeepers and the entity side, and I'm hoping to be out of that next year as well. So within the next 2 or 3 years, it'll be based solely on expansion, acquisitions, maybe diversifying into other types of businesses so that we don't have to be doing this all the time. And the hope is I'm either going to sell it or I can just keep collecting a paycheck for as long as it's can run by itself.
yeah. So what are you focusing on as you're thinking about your exit strategy? I think acquisitions, a lot of people are familiar with the acquisitions world, right? There's all kinds of chitter chatter on all the Facebook forums and all that. So I think there's amazing things we could talk about there, but I really want people to be thinking about the exit strategy because I asked a question the other day in one of the Facebook groups and it was, like, what are you planning on doing for retirement? And there were a lot of people that were like, I plan on working until they have to pry my cold dead hands off the keyboard. And like, I were really serious.
They are.
And I I feel for them to a degree because I think they've been so immersed and enmeshed into their work that they haven't taken the time, like you took the time when your kids were young to be with them, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that are just hustle, hustle, hustle all the time, like grind, grind, grind. And when they get into their 60s and 70s, they're like, I don't have anything else out there.
Yeah.
So when you start thinking about your exit strategy, I mean, it sounds like you definitely have some good retirement
Mhm.
plans ahead for you, and I'm excited for you on that. But what are the things that you're doing to prepare yourself for that exit strategy that others could maybe take away that have not really given it a lot of thought?
It's one of the things that I talk about when I do coaching for other tax pros or when I do webinars is we see this with our clients that they retire and they stop doing working and they get old very quickly. And one of the things I encourage all tax pros, they need to have a life outside of tax. Tax can't be what I identify as. You know,
Yeah.
we take a lot of trips, we do a lot of hiking, I play golf. You gotta have things that you do and you plan for it. And you can't, we had a person in our local chapter, she just passed away at 96.
Mhm.
She was still working.
Oh,
Yep. Another one, she has an 80 something year old person that works in their office, I think just retired this year. And then if I'm going to do that, like I may want to slow down and just be that old guy that comes in for 5 to 10 hours a week,
yeah.
creating havoc in the office. And I'm going to leave and then say, oh my God, thank God he's gone for the day. That's my retirement role. My partner understands that. She's nearly 20 years younger than me. So my transition is if we can find another younger version of me to take my place,
Yeah.
either I would get bored out or not.
Yeah.
We'll figure whether I just stay on the slow thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but finding that and understanding that people are hesitant to recognize that and they realize when they get to a starting point and they want to sell. And that's not a good exit strategy.
Right.
You need to plan your retirement. You need to plan your exit. You want to plan for emergencies, as we discussed previously outside of this podcast. And it's a 3 to 5 year process when you're going to sell
Yeah.
because a lot of tax pros, they don't have everything in place that they need to do to exit.
Yeah. What are the top like 3 to 4 things that people need to be thinking about for that exit plan that you can kind of share with us today?
They need to figure out whether they want to go and be gone and
Mhm.
sell and go off right into the sunset, whether they want to still do taxes, but on a much smaller scale. They want to slow down and they want to sell and stay on. And they need to do the same things we do with our clients. And we are our absolute worst clients. When we have clients, the stock market goes down, we talk them off the ledge. But right now people are heavily invested in Nvidia. That went down, and I know my finance guys getting calls all the time because they're wondering, and we're telling them, you ride out the stock market.
Right.
And we talk to people about retirement in our industries, and we don't hear ourselves speak. We don't we don't put together our plan. We don't
Right.
make sure we know what we're going to do afterwards. We just retire and stop, and
Right.
that's not healthy. And just like working too much is not healthy.
Right. So I'm curious your thoughts on this. I've done quite a bit of research on the value of a practice that has implemented, effective, efficient workflows, converted their client base over to online portals, have, been doing the work to systematize their businesses, not necessarily to the full degree of automation, but definitely like building the culture around online portals and, virtual document management, that kind of thing. So they're not the old school, like paper
Yeah. There's a lot of them out
practices.
there.
There's a lot of those out there, but tax practice owners, like and accounting owners, they're not thinking about that. They're just thinking, I've been building this book of business for 20 or 30 years. I've got, 500 or 800 clients and I'm making, $2 million a year. It's awesome. We're doing great. But when somebody looks at that practice, it does not see a $2 million practice.
No.
They see the investment that they're going to have to take. They see that they're going to have to convert all of those clients over to a virtual space. They see the importance of having, because a lot of people aren't in your case too, like where you're acquiring those practices, they're not in your same town. So
No.
you don't have the luxury of driving down the street to go and deal with paper documents, right? Like you need to have that. So are those some of the things that you're thinking about when you're acquiring that these exit strategy folks should be thinking about as well?
Yeah. Our last acquisition 2 years ago was more of an old school practice. It did
Mhm.
come with a number of employees, and that was one of the reasons that it was attractive to us. It wasn't the best of fit. We still have it. We've lost a lot of clients because we kind of modernized everything,
Mhm.
and we're in the process of going virtual with that one. But it was heavily invested in paper. It didn't use any of the workflows, and to me, it's both a good acquisition and a failed acquisition at the same
Yeah.
time. Okay, we got good people out of it. We
Mhm.
didn't lose money on it. It did create a lot of headaches for us. So we won't ever buy another, 100% paper office again if they are not mostly virtual. And that was in Virginia. So I'm traveling from California to Virginia. We're sending, and my remoters, they're good. They come into the office occasionally during tax season. We'll fly them in, put them up, give them a car, and they'll come work in the office for a couple of weeks for
Yeah.
those in-house people. And we did that in Virginia. I got my grandkids are back East Coast, so I don't mind flying back there and see them on the weekends.
Yeah.
But the one I'm acquiring now is 40 minutes away and they're 98% virtual. The lady I spoke to this morning, she's 100% virtual.
Mhm.
So those are more valuable. Right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
I bought what I call Walmart practices before where, it's the drop your stuff off, get in and get out attitude.
Mm.
And I won't ever buy that. To me, that's good fit for some people.
Yeah.
And I'm not down. It's just not for us because we're more of a virtual, and we don't want to be that. Come in, sit down, drop it out. We have some clients that are like that, but it's not something we want to be in anymore.
Yeah. I think the clients, honestly, maybe the older generation clients are the exception to this. I don't think accounting and tax clients want to be in that world anymore either.
They think
Honestly.
they have. They think we have to teach them. You don't need to be there. It's like get what's your stuff. And we'll have a meeting after we're 3/4 of the way through to clear everything up and
Sure.
do that.
Yeah, there's lots of ways of doing that. And even just communicating digitally through a portal, where you can actually have the conversation and be like, hey, I asked you all these questions. Our program leans and uses TaxDome, of course, but we lean heavily into those organizers. And we're having a virtual, like I like to look at the organizers as like an asynchronous interview, right? Like we get to ask them questions, then we get to ask clarifying questions, and we get to ask another question. And we get most everything that we need, unless a red flag comes up and we're like, oh, wait, no, we need more clarification on it.
Right.
Right. And so when we're working with our clients, like that's how we're thinking about these types of interactions. So for anyone that's listening, that's like, well, how do you do this then? If you're not meeting with these people, at the start to get all the documents and get all the information, it's through technology. Like that is everything that Fred is talking about here. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm curious too. So you said that you guys are leaning into the tech side of things. How did you transition that fully paper practice? Like, would you share with us like what that journey was like? Because I think a lot of people think that it has to be really hard. It is a journey. Like it takes time. You said 3 to 5 years, and I think honestly, from 100% paper, it's at least 2 years. 2 to 3 years is probably a safe, like not forced on the client, not breaking yourselves and your brains on how this all happened. So I'm curious how that experience was for you.
Well, we started pre-pandemic doing this. Okay.
Sure.
Back in 2017, when I met my wife and decided to move to California, a couple years before that, my partner moved 150 miles away and married her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went remote at that point in time,
Oh,
using the local softwares, logging into the machines. And so when the pandemic hit, we were already set up for that. And then by
yeah.
2017, we had our IT guy build us our own server. So we had virtual workstations as
Yeah.
opposed to the logged in stuff that takes up space. So we
Mm-hmm.
were already on a virtual workstation. We wanted to cut down on paper. So we started telling clients that we're going to give them discounts to join the portal, to do that. And with the goal that at that time, anybody over the age of 60 or over 50 at that stage was allowed to use old school. But if you're under 50, you can do tech. Um, but older people now use tech all the time for doctors' offices.
Yep.
They Zoom with their grandkids. So they're more well versed to it now. So we started it back on around 2013, 2014. We started being less paper just from,
Mm-hmm.
it was the way to go. And pretty soon it got to the point now is if you want a paper copy of your tax return, there's an additional charge for that now.
Yeah. Love
Okay.
that.
And we're now taking some of our clients, and we evaluate clients every single year. So now we're taking like 25 to 50 clients every single year, and we're taking them up and we're packaging them up and we're selling them off to some of our remoters who are starting their own practice.
Oh,
So
cool.
their prices are lower than ours. Our prices are
Yep.
higher. And these are the ones that may need that little more hand holding that, we'll handhold, but it's going to cost you money. And these are
Okay.
smaller returns that still want the hand holding where some of my younger remoters who are just starting out, they're perfect for that. They pay me and they still making more than what they're charging. And it helps them value themselves and then charge more for their services as well.
That's so cool. I love that you have this. It's almost just like a mentorship academy that you've
It,
built into your business. I love that.
it's something that actively we've talked about it, and we see it as a mentorship, and we've tried to take people that aren't necessarily the normal fits for the
Mhm.
business. Like my administrative tax department manager, she was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years when she applied, and was just a receptionist.
Mhm.
And we wound up giving her a chance, even though she hadn't worked in 5 years.
Yeah.
One of our best decisions is like we'd ask her to do things they were already done because she did them the previous year, and she's invaluable now. She runs our tax department from the admin side for us.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that. Well, Fred, is there anything that you would share with somebody who is in maybe like the earlier stages of the exit planning strategy that you think that if you had known this, you know, 5 years ago before you like actually started your active exit strategy plan that you wish you had known back then that you could share with?
You should, whether you're in your first year or in your 20th year, you need to be looking at your exit strategy. What is your long-term goals? We talk to
Mhm.
clients whenever we plan, what's the 1 year, 3 year, 5 and long-term goals? We should have that for ourselves, put it in place. Yes, you need to feed your kids, put food on your plate, but please don't take every single client. Not every client is worth having.
Yeah.
In this industry, the client is not always right because they're watching TikTok videos. So build the practice that you want now, that you want in the future, build that now. All right.
Yeah.
Take the clients you want. Um, or if you have to take everything just because you do need the money, make sure you know you're going to get rid of them. And as you take on these 2 new higher clients, get rid of the 4 lower clients and help bring that out. I've never been, when I was younger at the CPA firm, we'd sit around in the early 20s and go to the bars and say, and we were in the days where they beat you down. They're working 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And we said, we're never going to have this kind of a practice. And, my partner, we built a family-friendly practice where we tell our employees, go to that kid's kindergarten play. You can take an hour and a half off during tax season, go do it. I have remoters with young kids that they would take the week off during spring break because the kids were home and it's taxing. Build it for the full year and not just, I don't see any pride in working 8 hours a week, 100 hours a week and not seeing your family. I never did that. I don't want to choose to do that.
I love that. And I think those are words that everyone listening needs to take to heart. And if you're not doing that, and if you had those same conversations when you were working for someone else and you said, I'm never going to do this, don't do it in your business now.
We do.
And you probably are. Like, let's need some good introspection to just sit with yourself quietly one day and just be like, okay, am I doing this? Am I actually creating the business that I want? And if you're not, know that there's people like Fred out there mentoring others and sharing these types of things. I would love, Fred, how can people come and hang out in your world and be exposed to you? Because I think I am a firm believer that we just sometimes need to be, even if it's anonymously mentored by these people, but able to just see what others are doing and the thoughts and the beliefs that they have. And we can start adopting those as our own. So I would love for our audience to know where they can come and hang out with you.
Well, they can always find me on any of the Facebook groups. I'm in a bunch of them. I do run a Facebook group for Tax 101 where we got other tax pros. It's a group where they can answer all those so-called stupid questions that they get beat up on some of the other groups. So, and it's not to say that we're just answering Tax 101 questions. They get some complicated questions, but it's a place where they can come and ask the questions. It doesn't mean they're not going to be told to do some research on their own, but it's a mentoring group where some of the other groups are there to maybe both mentor, but to give answers, and each group is different. I run an ultra tax group. I run a short prep group, but you can find me in Compass. You can find me in Tax Practice Pro and other ones.
Great.
I'm on Twitter, but that's more of a fun, just troll place for people. But
where you want to hear some sassy tax talk.
That's it. And quite open, and I can be abrupt and brusque at times, and I'm an acquired taste. So.
Well, I don't agree with that, but I think you have a lot of great ideas and great things to share. So I appreciate you being a mentor in the industry and being here today to share with us your story. So we appreciate getting to hear about how acquisitions and exit strategy are so key to really having a thriving business. So I hope everyone took away some valuable takes from Fred today. And Fred, thank you so much for being our guest. We'll see you on the next Diary of a Tax Practice Owner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Have a great day.